let's review finding the percents of numbers. So again, we always want to notice this word of, and that should trigger for us a reminder that we are going to multiply. So we want to find 25% times 30. And again, let's pause and think about the fact that we are saying 25% of 30, right? If we were to say 25% of my 30 students, then we would know that we are looking for a number that is smaller than 30, right? That is just a portion of 30 students. So let's keep that in mind while we're solving. And then again, we will always just turn this percent either into a decimal or a fraction. I always think it's most straightforward just to turn it into a decimal. So 25% becomes 0.25, and then we can multiply. And with 2 decimal places, we can see that we get 7.5. So 25% of 30 is 7.5. Let's try another one. 120% of 40. So this time, we'll notice 120% is greater than 100%, right? 100% would represent one whole. Now we're looking at 120%. So that's going to end up giving us a number that's greater than 40. So once again, of tells us to multiply, and we have 120% times 40. So let's turn our percent into a decimal here. That would give us 1.20 or 1.2, and we can multiply that by 40. 0 times 2 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0, 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 1 is 4. We have 1 decimal place, so our answer is 48. 120% of 40 is 48. Okay, the next one, we have a 2% of 200. So again, we'll set this up. 2% times 200. Turn our percent into a decimal. That would give us 0.02. And again, we will multiply that by 200. Zero times 2 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0. Again, 0 times 2 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0. And finally, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 0 is 0. We've got 2 decimal places, so our answer is 4. 2% of 200 is 4. All right. Now we're going to look at finding the whole, right? So rather than 5% of a number equals what, we are looking at 5% of some unknown number equals 12, right? Now this is where we can use our new knowledge of variables here, and we can replace what number with a variable. So let's just use n, right? So we're saying 5%, again, of means multiply. So 5% times n equals 12. Again, we can change 5% to a decimal. That would give us 0.05. Now, let's think about this. 0.05 times some number equals 12. Now, if we had a problem like this, 10 times some number equals 20. Now, mentally, you know that that would be 2, right? 10 times 2 equals 20. Well, if we want to solve any problem like this, we can just use division. 10 times n equals 20, so we know that 20 divided by 10 will equal n. And 20 divided by 10 is 2. So that would be the answer. So we can do the same thing here. If 0.05 times n equals 12, then we know 12 divided by 0.05 will equal n. So let's set up that division problem. So we have a decimal in our divisor. We need to move that twice and do the same here. So now we have 1,200 divided by 5. And 5 goes into 12 twice, 12 minus 10 is 2. 5 goes into 20 4 times. And 5 goes into 0 0 times. So 5% of 240 is 12. And if you wanted to check your work here, we know that 5% times 240 would have to equal 12. So if we went back and multiplied 5% times 240, we would get 12. 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 0 is 0. 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 0 plus 2 is 2, and 4 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 0 plus 1 is 1, 2 times 0 is 0. And we have 2 decimals, so our answer would be 12. All right, another one, 40% of what number is 25? So again, we'll replace of with multiplication. We'll replace what number with a variable. Again, we'll use n. Is means equals 25. So 40% times n equals 25. Okay, so again, we can turn 40% into a decimal here. That would be 0.4. And if we know that 0.4 times n equals 25, then 25 divided by 0.4 equals n. Again, we need to move our decimal once to the right. So we have 250 divided by 4. 4 goes into 25 6 times, that's 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. 4 goes into 10 twice, that's 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. We can add a decimal and a 0 here. And 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. So 40% of 62.5 equals 25. Okay, now as a reminder, we can also do this with a fraction. So if you wanted to, instead of turning your percent into a decimal, you could turn it into a fraction. So let's try that here. 150% of what number is 30? So we have 150%, which we'll write for now as an improper fraction. Of is multiplication. What number would be n equals 30. Now we could rewrite 150 hundredths as 1 and 50 hundredths, which you could simplify to 1 and a half. Now actually, for the sake of this problem, it'll be easier to keep it as an improper fraction. So 1 and a half, we know as an improper fraction is 3 halves. And 3 halves times n equals 30. So once again, we will want to find our answer by dividing. If 3 halves times n equals 30, then 30 divided by 3 halves equals n. So when we're dividing by a fraction, we're going to keep, change, and flip. 30 times 2 is 60. 1 times 3 is 3, and 60 divided by 3 is 20. So 150% of 20 is equal to 30.